Morning, Lynn.
How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
How are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
And the family?
Seems to be doing well. Steve will be joining us here in a little bit, and everybody else, so far as I know, is doing well. Had one scare, one family member, they have crossed paths with somebody that has COVID, and he had a cough for a little bit, but his test came back negative, so that's good. So, otherwise, as far as I know, everybody's fine. Your family all well?
Yeah. I'm ready for some sunshine.
I can hear you talking, but I can't hear what you're saying.
I'm ready for some sunshine.
Oh, really? Yes, I really don't mind I don't like the cold, but I don't mind it that much. But the lack of sunshine drives me nuts.
Yeah, this is one of those mornings when it was gray and I just wanted to stay in bed.
Steve and I were actually commenting on how when we go back to meeting at the meeting house, we're going to actually have to put on clothes besides our sweatpants, you know, and it's kind of nice. You put your sweatpants and stuff on, you sit in your easy chair here. So there are a few advantages to Zoom.
Maybe we'll just have to keep that dress code.
There we
Come
go.
as you are or as you want.
That's right. There you go. Well, I think we probably sort of operated that way anyway, but none of us took it quite that. We're quite that relaxed about it.
Take out the pews and put in recliners.
Now you're talking. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
We used to have the ones at the center. They weren't recliners, but they were easy chairs with an arm that swung, and just to have the arm so we could prop our coffee and our computer on.
Yeah. Yep.
We could just do that at the meeting house and
yeah, works for me.
Have everybody on Zoom, even those who are there.
That's right. Bring our coffee, put our feet up. That sounds like a good plan.
Sue?
Good
morning,
morning. Good morning.
How are things in your neck of the woods?
Doing okay.
Good.
How about you guys?
Doing fine.
How are
Morning,
you?
Dan.
Pardon?
Good morning.
Morning, Dan. John?
Hey, Sue. How are you?
Dan, I don't know what's on the wall behind you, but it looks like you have quite a.
There's like a giant toupee there or something.
Yeah, it's like.
Or you take it down.
Looks like a Lyle Lovett kind of hairdo.
Okay.
Oh,
All you
that
critics.
looks more normal.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I was going to tell you that I had my first haircut since August this week because it had grown out and gotten curly and was hanging over my ears. And, I thought it was time. So did Carly.
Well, Facebook has these filters you can put on. You know, I thought maybe that's what.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that's what that was.
No, it'd be more like dog ears or a puppy nose or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Good morning, Sylvia.
Morning.
I have
Sylvia.
one that looks like a Quaker cat hat.
That brim felt hat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sylvia and Dan missed that.
Yeah, you have to go back and start over. Sorry.
Okay, when I first tuned in, this was on the wall behind me and it looked like I had a big giant fro of some sort.
So we've been giving them a hard time.
It's not a halo, huh?
I don't think it'd ever be mistaken for Halo.
John, don't you have a birthday this week?
I do today.
Today.
Today is today.
And Betty's is
Tuesday, the
Tuesday.
12th.
Oh, happy birthday to both of you.
Happy birthday.
Do you celebrate them together or do you insist on 2 cakes?
We usually get pie for mine, and then I have to figure out what to do for hers.
No.
Yeah, I'm with you on the pie. What's your favorite kind?
I suppose cherry, but I like lots of pies. I think gooseberry. I know not rhubarb's on the menu for today, I think.
Oh,
Yep. Yummy.
Today's John and Betty's birthdays.
Same day.
Apparently. I just heard part of the conversation.
Apparently.
are you knitting, Steve?
That'll be today, Sylvia.
Oh. Doesn't look like a piece of yarn.
It did.
It did look like that, but he doesn't knit, so.
Okay.
You were,
Fiddling with my ear.
you were pulling out your.
Morning,
thing that looked
Christy.
like yarn, so
Morning,
Sylvia asked
everybody.
if you were knitting.
Hi, Christy.
How are you feeling?
I do not have any symptoms. I'm feeling great.
Good. How
Yeah,
about Emily?
Emily, she's fine. She lost her sense of smell and taste, and she's been at home. She was retested Wednesday and she's still positive, so she's laying low. Ryan tested negative, so we are not quite sure what's going on there, so.
Maybe he's like
I
me,
think they're
just
still
being too honored to
communicating.
get it.
They're newlyweds, so I hope they're still communicating, but maybe not.
Maybe they didn't get the handbook.
There you go.
I like your hat, Brent.
There's the Quaker hat. You can do that for a
And
filter.
it follows you wherever you go. huh?
Kind of look like a Jewish person from New York.
Yes, Hasidic.
Yeah, Hasidic, that's the word.
Yeah,
I couldn't find it.
Can you put on the ringlets
Oh,
too?
no.
You don't have the ringlets though. Did you cut those off?
Yes.
Dora has a hat.
Of course, now I can't figure out how to shut it off.
So Dale's got the real thing.
Huh. Where did you get that hat, Dale?
It's probably Amish. I got it from
Yeah.
Middlebury, Indiana.
Oh. All right. Yeah, probably Amish.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Interesting.
In the middle.
They have all kinds of filters you can put on, mustaches, all kinds of stuff. So,
Those are funny. So,
I use that sometimes when I've been telling a story or something. It use John Woolman story or something of that. So
uh-huh.
I've had it for years.
Do you have a John Woolman song?
I've got a whole like
Oh, program.
program.
Yeah.
I have probably a half an hour thing, but I've got specific. I mean, I've got songs in that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Should have him over for that.
Yeah.
but I have a program like John Woolman. It's got several songs from things that he said, and kind of looking at his life and the things he stood for.
Do you think that can be done on Zoom?
Could it be? Maybe. Could I do it? I don't know about that. To be honest with you, I don't feel like I've ever quite completed it. I used it at the church at Ackworth the Sunday after the last election. I mean, the ones in 16. because I didn't frankly know what else to share that day. So I brought John Woolman to church and let him tell and let him do the talking.
Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, Nancy.
Good to see you, Nancy. Hi, Betty.
Hello. I said morning, good morning when I sat down.
Oh, I didn't hear that. So,
Bean looks pretty casual today. I don't see a suit and tie.
Who, John?
No, Dan
Yeah.
Bean.
Oh,
Oh, he has a blazer or something on.
Well, I wore that tie a time or two before the wedding because I discovered that I'd forgotten how to tie a tie. It had been so long. I had to go to YouTube and learn how. So I wore it a time or two just to practice, I think.
Say, Dan, you hang
Snowy?
out with this group, you're gonna get casual pretty quick. Gotta be casual.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Is it snowy out in Iowa?
Yes.
Still are for another maybe 10 days or so.
It's interesting to see the news this morning that Central Texas and Louisiana are to get 8 inches of snow the next day or two. Indiana, we've had only 2 total for the winter.
Wow.
Is that headed toward Indiana?
No.
Oh.
Staying south.
Well, I don't think we've had grass showing since we got here.
No.
We came to snow and there's had another big snow and now we still have piles and all over the ground. Yeah. And in the
We had
country,
like
it's still
12
clean
inches
and
in
pretty.
that one snow.
What, Dale?
We had about 12 inches in that one snow here in Newton.
Mm. That's more than we had here.
Yeah.
Dan's
When
been
Carly-
spending lots of time trying to figure out how to rebuild the grain elevators and the grain system. Or if to rebuild it, or where to rebuild it, how much to rebuild it. Whether replace it entirely or use the old stuff in with the new stuff.
It certainly is all a lot more expensive than it was 45 years ago when we built it the first time.
Great, so.
Is 45 years ago the new stuff?
Yeah.
I remember at Friends Memorial in Muncie, they would always talk about the new wing of the church and it was built in 62. Like,
And when we visited England, they said that the new part, which was 200 years ago.
is your remodeling done?
Oh, heavens no. It'll be another year.
So what are you working on now?
They're working on the kitchen. The new stovetop came. I hate it, so that's got to go back.
Maybe you better check, see what he's got. Maybe something.
There you go. Yeah.
So Chip, Lynn is wanting a new stovetop. Maybe I could work out a deal with you unless it's purple.
It's not purple. It's one that's built in. It sinks down into the cabinet.
That's,
Keep talking.
And I
that's
don't,
what ours is.
and that's what you're looking for.
That's what ours is, but the one we have is probably original to the house, which means 1994. And needs to be replaced at some point.
I can send you a picture of this.
There you go.
One thing about COVID is that a lot of people have learned how to cook again. And
Mhm.
the appliances have to work.
I never did know how to cook.
Morning,
Well,
Norma.
my stuff,
Dave, hi Norma.
Good
morning.
Morning, Norma.
Morning, David. Norma?
Good morning.
I started to say my stove is original to our house, 1976, and it
Oh.
still works fine.
Well, one of the reasons I want to replace the one we have is that it has one burner that has one speed, high. So if I have to use all 4 burners, I gotta be careful about that one.
Remember watching my granny cook on a wood burning cast iron stove, and how she would rotate the pots and pans and rotate the cookie sheets out of the oven. She'd put them in for a minute or two and then take one out and put it on top and put the other one in. And she had this years of experience of how to rotate the food, because you really couldn't regulate the temperature very well.
I don't have that skill.
Hers was certainly practiced. You know.
My mother cooked on cooked and baked on a cast iron stove as well, way back when.
Mhm.
Nancy says that wasn't that far back because she did too. So. But then they didn't have indoor plumbing either, which I found novel. So
It was very novel.
We did not have indoor plumbing either. And a light bulb in the kitchen that hung from the ceiling on a long cord.
friends, it's that time. Dan's the worship leader this morning. Are there joys or concerns to share before we center into silence?
I think we need to keep the Boko Haram tragedies that have happened in East Africa, but south of Kenya, I believe, and where the school children, the boys mostly, were captured and eventually released. It's like 300 or 400 of them that were taken from the school. And you know, what a horribly scary time for them and their parents. And they have been released, and I thank God for that.
I would add, after the events of this week in our own country, we need to be in prayer for sanity and healing, and also for us to know how we should act in this time and what actions we might need to take as individuals endeavoring to follow the Prince of Peace. Well, shall we go into silence? I invite you to mute yourselves, and Dan Berger will speak out of the silence.
When one of those who sat at the table with him heard this, he said to him, "Blessed is he who shall eat bread in the kingdom of God." But Jesus said to him, "A man once gave a banquet and invited many. And at the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to say to those who had been invited, 'Come, for all is now ready.' But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said to him, 'I have bought a field, and I must go out and see it. I pray you, have me excused.' And another said, 'I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I go to examine them. I pray you, have me excused.' And another said, 'I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come.' So the servant came and reported this to the master. Then the householder, in anger, said to his servant, 'Go out quickly to the streets and the lanes of the city, and bring in the poor, and the maimed, and the blind, and the lame.' And the servant said, 'Sir, what you commanded has been done, and still there is room.' And the master said to the servant, 'Go out to the highways and the hedges, and compel people to come in, that my house may be filled. For I tell you, none of those men who were invited shall taste my banquet.'" What you commanded has been done, and still there is room. My childhood shoes were selected from the Buster Brown section of the Goshen Shoe Store. At the store, there was a curious chromed measuring device. When it was applied to the starboard stockinged foot, first lengthwise and then widthwise, it would provide adequate raw data for the shoe sales clerk to disappear behind a fabric curtain and shortly thereafter return with a shoe of the calculated correct size. The right foot shoe was removed from the box. The tissue paper toe packing was removed. The laces, no slip-ons, period. The laces loosely installed in the tongue was pulled toeward. The clerk, sitting astride the chromed tubular stool with the ramp on one side, would then present the shoe for foot installation. He, I don't recall ever being attended by a woman, would snug the laces and tie the bow. The ensuing drill was to walk a short distance, shod with one new and one old shoe, and then report the satisfaction level of the fit. No matter the clerk's efforts, the final fit approval belonged to Dad. After standing and walking as directed, he pressed down on the toe of the shoe to find the large digit within. Should there be insufficient space for adolescent expansion, one size larger was his request. Save room, make space. You may need it for growth. I took driver's education at Goshen High School in 1974. It was taught by the basketball coach, Mr. Cosgrove. When he would extend his arm with palm flat and splay his fingers to make a point, the thumb and the pinky were aligned. A great curiosity to me. A great span for basketball or piano. We watched the requisite gory movie in 16 millimeter format, if that has any meaning. We endured the recitation of the Indiana Driver's Manual and spent barely enough time behind the wheel. When it was my time to drive, there were 4 juveniles assigned to each driving group. One neophyte was then selected to start the round robin event. She, usually, there were 3 girls and me, would get us rolling across the parking lot, down the side of the building, across US 33, and out onto the county numbered roads. When my rotation came around, it was a piece of cake. I had some prior driving opportunities, courtesy of an older brother who had the use of his employer's delivery van. It was a 1974 Econoline with 3-in-the-tree transmission. The only snag to my understanding about driving was the common phrase about following distances. It was that there should be no less than 2 car lengths between you and the car ahead. That seemed to me like a poorly defined number. I mean, we were honing our operating skills aboard a 1976 Dodge Coronet station wagon. It was certainly several yards longer than a Volkswagen Beetle. So whose length were we to double? Anyway, I got the point. Save room, make space. You may need it for safety. Let's say you've been invited to the larger family feast, the one attended by aunts and uncles and cousins. There are chairs for everyone, albeit some at the kids' table. The kids' table is one of the more rickety, folding 1950s relics that have seen many a spill. Being dispatched there was still a harness to childhood. You haven't been recognized for mature feast behavior until you're released from the kids' table and been invited to dine with the big people. You've been invited to the feast and have a chair at the table, so cherish it. The oft-repeated cook's admonition at the Thanksgiving eat-a-thon is save room for dessert. And why wouldn't you? There was cranberry fluff and raspberry cobbler. There was pie beside pie beside pie. Apple cinnamon and pecan and peach and pumpkin with ice cream and ice cream and ice cream and whipped cream. All to be outdone by the Hoosier favorite, sugar cream pie. No embellishments necessary. Don't fill up on turkey and gravy and mashed potatoes, both white and orange. Don't fill up on the green bean casserole or the corn casserole. Save room, leave space. You may need it for abdominal comfort. A family Christmas feast felt to me as an opposite to the Thanksgiving feed. The sideboard was covered with tins and platters of candy and cookies. There was peanut brittle and turtles, chocolate-covered cherries, and divinity. There were 3 kinds of fudge: peanut butter, white fudge with diced cherries, and marshmallow fudge with or without nuts. Okay, I guess that makes 4 kinds. I've come to understand that there are those among us that don't like black walnuts, so some accommodation must be made. If you didn't know the tangy flavor of black walnut meat or the melt-in-your-mouth sweetness of sugar cream pie, then you probably don't know other Hoosier favorites of morel mushrooms and pawpaws either. I'm sad for you. Anyway, the cookies were butter riches, decorated each year more artistically as the baker's children became more adept with the frosting. There were Mexican wedding cookies, chocolate chip, and mashed chocolate batter rolled in confectioner's sugar, whatever those kind of cookies are called. The admonition at Christmas was, get out of the candy and save room for lunch. Save room, leave space. You may need it to realize the countless blessings of daily bread. You may also need it for the ham with apricot sauce, the peas, the cornbread, the yeast rolls with Amish butter, and the 7-bean casserole that, by the way, sister-in-law, who shall remain nameless, would overflow the dish every time. And broccoli salad. In this time of COVID changes, there are some whose work routine has afforded them more time at home, absent a commute. I beat the rush and slowed my working schedule some time ago. I find it of interest that folks have written of the significant amount of time saved every day. It feels to them as a decompression valve of sorts. Time that was always there but was sucked up by processes and actions assumed to be necessary. Some have found use for this gained time for enrichment of themselves, their family, and community. Save room, make space in your time. You will need it for action of Christian compassion. Don't plant the corn seeds too close together. Save room, make space for growth. Don't schedule your commitments too close together. Same room, Make space for quiet meditation. You will need it for spiritual growth. Fill not your senses with the tumult of the earth. Save room. Make space, for you will need it to discern the genuine essence of your heart and soul.
Thank you, Dan, and all for joining us. Are there thoughts that friends would like to share before we close meeting?
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate what you shared.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
Well, hope to see you all next Sunday. Same time, same channel. Maybe we should get call letters, West Newton Friends Meeting, WNFM. So, and for those who are interested, unprogrammed worship will start in about 10 or 15 minutes. So blessings on you all this week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.